Today we're going to look at the concept of the percent of change. And I have three pictures here that show some balloons that were launched at the International Balloon Fiesta that takes place every year in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So let's say in the year 2015, there were 903 balloons that were launched. And a year later, there were 1,019 balloons. So and I misspelled balloons there, but it's okay. All right, so we know that the number of balloons increased from one year to the next. We can subtract the two numbers and figure out how much it increased, but what do we do to figure out the percent of increase? Did it increase by 20%, 15%? Well, we don't know, so that's what we're going to learn to do today. All right, now, key definitions. The percent of change shows how much a quantity increases or decreases in relation to the original amount. If the new amount is greater than the original amount, the percent of change is called percent of increase. And vice versa. If the new amount is less than the original amount, the percent of change is called a percent of decrease. Now, there is a percent of change proportion that we're going to use today to figure out the percent of change. Notice in this proportion, in the color blue, you have the amount of change, and that is in relation to the original amount. So ORIG is for the word original. So it's the amount of change over the original amount equals the percent of change over 100. Well, what does that mean? Well, we're going to go through this first example. I know a guy named Jim, and he loves to eat crepes. And he decided to open a restaurant that specializes in cooking this breakfast delicacy. So on Monday, let's say he sold 20 of them, and then on Tuesday he sold 25. So we know, looking at the data, that the number that he sold went up by 5. So the question is, well, we need to find the percent of increase from Monday to Tuesday. So the amount of change is simply the difference between the two quantities that you're looking at. So the difference between 25 and 20 is 5. So 5 goes in the place for the amount of change. Now the original amount goes at the bottom in the denominator part of the ratio. So the original amount pretty much is the amount that you start with. So on Monday, Jim sold 20 of the crepes. So 5 out of 20 equals, now we're looking for the percent because we're looking for the percent of change. So we don't know what it is right now. So we put an X, and then you put 100 over the X. Now we have the proportion 5 over 20 equals X over 100. Well, we know how to figure out what the X is. So we're going to use that skill called cross products or cross multiplication. So 20 times X is 20X. 5 times 100 is 500. To solve for X, we divide both sides by 20, and we get 25. So the amount of change, or the percent of change, is 25%. So our answer will be 25% increase. So in the restaurant sold 25% more on Tuesday than they did on Monday. All right, you can pause the video here, and you are allowed to use a calculator for these type problems. So try checkpoint number 1 and checkpoint number 2 on a separate sheet of paper. Use your calculator to do all the figuring out for you, and then you will record your answer in the Google form. Now let's look at example number 2. I know another person named Langley, and she loves to collect shoes. Last week, she went into her closet and she counted all the shoes that she had, and she discovered that she had 50 pairs. So she decided, I'm going to give some of my shoes away. So she gave some away today. So she ended up with 40 pairs. So the question is, well, find the percent of decrease. By what percent did her shoes decrease in her closet? So again, we're going to use the same proportion. Amount of change over original amount equals percent over 100. So to get the percent of change, Langley would just subtract 50 minus 40 to get 10. So she gave away 10 pairs of shoes. So that goes at the top of the ratio. And then the original amount she had was 50. So you put that at the bottom. And that equals x over 100. Now we use the same strategy, cross products, and you get 50 times x, 50x, 10 times 100 is 1,000, divide by 50, and you get 20. So the answer is 20% decrease. Now you may say, well, there's a faster way to solve these proportions. I know that 50 times 2 is 100. So what I do to the bottom of the ratio, I can also do to the top. 10 times 2 makes 20. So you are correct. You could do it that way as well. But some of the problems that you have will not be that straightforward. So that's why we're taking you the long route to do the problem. All right, again, you can pause the video and try checkpoint number 3 and number 4 on a separate sheet of paper and record your answer in the Google form. Now, the next type of problem is going to deal with applying percent. So let's say we are going to look at some data of how many spectators attended a certain sports event, okay? And let's say in the year 2018, there were 15,000 people that attended a particular game. Let's say a year later, in 2019, the spectators increased by 30%. So we have to figure out, well, how many spectators attended the event in 2019? So you will look at the three boxes that I have at the top to show you how to figure this out. We're going to apply the use of percent. So the first box shows spectators in 2019. That's what we're looking for. How many people showed up in 2019? So what we're going to do, we're going to take the spectators in 2018 and we're going to add it to the amount of increase. Well, in this problem, it says that the number of people that attended increased by 30%. So you're going to take 30% and multiply it by the original amount, which is 15,000. So we got 15,000 plus. Now we're going to change 30% to decimal 30 and then multiply that by 15,000. Now you will recall, according to order of operations, you have to multiply before you add. So decimal 30 times 15,000 is 4,500. And then you're going to add that to 15,000, which ends up with 19,500. So the answer for this problem is 19,500 spectators attended this sports event in 2019. Pause the video and try checkpoint number 5. All right, the last problem for today. This is a real life scenario that we're dealing right now with in our country. Your parents will appreciate this problem or can relate to this problem. In 2019, the average price of gas per gallon was $2.59. Well, in the spring of 2020, the price of gas has dropped 38%. So our goal is to find the new price. So look at the three boxes that I have to show you the strategy that we could use to figure out the new price. So we start off with the price in 2020. To get the price in 2020, we're going to take the price in 2019, and this time we're going to subtract the amount of decrease. So the problem says that it dropped 38%. So we got to find what 38% of $2.59 is. So when you do that, you take decimal 38 and multiply it by $2.59. Now remember, you're dealing with money in this context. So remember, we want to round our numbers to the nearest hundredth place. So the appropriate number that we're going to use in this problem is 98 cents. So we're going to take $2.59 and we're going to subtract 98 cents from this problem. When we do that, you get $1.61. So that's the new amount for the gas. So $1.61 is the price in 2020, the price per gallon. All right, last checkpoint for the day. Try this problem on a separate sheet of paper. Use your calculator for help and record your answer in the Google form. Thank you and have a great day.